Hi. I'm here to talk with you today about suspending kids from school. And it's a topic that I happen to know quite a bit about. Not because I was ever suspended from school. I was one of the lucky ones. I was what you would refer to as a good kid. I came from a good family. I didn't have any learning challenges, so school was a pretty easy place for me. I fit in, I had friends, I was involved in sports, and I had the love and support and respect of the adults around me that I needed. Most of my needs were mostly met, and I felt pretty good about myself, so I didn't have any reason to get in trouble at school. I had what you could call a lot of protective factors. So how did I know so much about suspensions? Well, I've spent the last 20 plus years working inside the public school system with the kids who are getting in trouble at school and in life. And they're getting suspended, some of them multiple times. And I know that it mostly doesn't work. And in fact, it often does the opposite. It hurts kids who are already hurting. These are what you refer to as the bad kids. And they may have been referred to that for a long time. Their families are often struggling with many issues of their own. They have learning, social, and emotional challenges. So school is a pretty tough place for them. They often don't fit in. They don't have friends, or the ones that they do have are bad influences. And they aren't involved in sports or any other healthy activities. They don't have the love, support, or respect of the adults around them that they need. And many times, most of their needs are not being met, and they haven't been for a very long time, sometimes their whole life. They don't feel very good about themselves. In fact, sometimes they feel pretty bad. So they have lots of reasons to get in trouble at school. They have lots of risk factors. So I'd like to ask you a question. Discipline and punishment, or empathy and connection? If you were in trouble, confused, stressed out, made a mistake or a bad choice, did something stupid that you regret, like we all have, like all teenagers do, which would you prefer? Discipline and punishment, or empathy and connection? I vote for empathy and connection. When people ask me what I do, I say that I'm a counselor and a drug awareness and addiction prevention educator. But what I really am is a lover of people. I have a huge heart, and it hurts when other people hurt. I do what I do because I want everyone to have the chance to have a happy, healthy life. And I love working with teenagers. I'm here to talk about an alternate approach to working with kids that are getting in trouble at school. I'm here to talk about an alternate to suspensions. And I'm here to talk about how to use empathy and connection instead of discipline and punishment. 20 years ago, I was hired to work at a regular high school as the only youth worker in a school of 1,900 plus students. So as you can imagine, I was pretty busy. I saw lots of kids struggling with influences and choices, and a lot of those included drug use or some other kind of risky behavior. Crime, sex, skipping school, bullying, violence, cutting, and even suicidal behavior. These kids were struggling with lots of adversities, and they were getting in the way of their success at school, and they weren't being addressed. As you can imagine, these kids were receiving lots of discipline and punishment from the school. They felt like nobody cared or understood, and many of them lost hope. Next to physical survival, the greatest need for a human being is psychological survival. To be understood, to be affirmed, to be validated, to be appreciated. These kids weren't getting that at home, and they definitely weren't getting it at school. For the next 10 years, I worked at a large alternate school. And this was a place for the kids who had already crashed and burned at regular school. And for many of them, it was their last chance. All of the problems that they had in regular school remained, and many of them were much more severe. Lots of kids arrive at alternate school sad, broken, and hopeless. We were supposed to repair this, and we worried that sometimes it was just too late. We knew that we needed to intervene earlier and in a way that offered potential solutions and hope, in a way that created connection instead of rejection. We knew that we needed a radical shift in how we looked at and approached kids who were getting in trouble. So I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the old way, and then I'm going to tell you about a new way. This image could be described as archaic. Yet, if we changed the clothes, put a hoodie and a ball cap on the kid, made it look a little bit more modern, this could be any office in any high school today. Yet nothing has changed. Discipline in school has been done the same way for centuries, whether it works or not. School is supposed to be a place of learning, yet we're missing critical teaching opportunities. Discipline doesn't teach what to do, it teaches what not to do. And for a kid who's really in trouble with drugs, mental illness, or abuse, suspension pushes them further away. Right now in our province, 1 in 4 kids doesn't graduate from high school. And research tells us that the more times a student is suspended, the less likely they are to graduate. And the longer they stay out of school, the greater the chance they'll never return. So how and where does a young person continue their education? And where do they get the support they so desperately need? Here's the problem with suspension. It gives them what they expect instead of what they need. It gives them what many of them have gotten all their life. It reinforces their mistrust of adults and their sense of being alone, of being bad. 8 years ago, a couple of us got together and tried to come up with something better. We knew that suspension wasn't working. And we knew that our goal was to connect and influence healthy choices. We also understood that the only way to have influence in a young person's life, or in anyone's life for that matter, was through a trusted and honest relationship. So what could we do? How could we get young people to stop or reduce their drug use? And how could we help them sort out all the crap they were dealing with and offer solutions and hope? How could we connect with them? These are some of the answers that we came up with. Through authenticity, with honesty, and with empathy. Now let's talk about empathy for a moment. Empathy is being able to step into another person's shoes and really experience what that other person is feeling, and then convey it back to them in a way that they understand. It's different than sympathy, which is more about our own feelings about what the other person is feeling. Research tells us that in therapy, empathy and unconditional positive regard are responsible for 40% of the change that occurs. So 40% of the time, change happens just because the therapist showed up and did empathy. It's that powerful. And when we experience it, we know it because it feels good. With this in mind, along with my 2 very trusted and respected colleagues, we developed this program called Project Resiliency. We looked at suspension as a 3-day opportunity to educate, to intervene, to prevent, and to connect. Project Resiliency started out as a 3-day alternate to suspensions program for kids who were getting in trouble at school with drug and alcohol use. It has since expanded to address many of the other issues that get in the way of a young person's success at school. We work with 200 to 300 kids per year, grades 8 to 12, and we do this work in small groups, with the most students being 8. And this way we can give each student the time and attention we need. Through creative and engaging individual and group activities that are designed to meet a variety of learning styles, we help kids look at their life in 5 foundational areas: home and health, school and community, and relationships. We talk about things like adversity and resiliency, control versus coping, healthy coping versus unhealthy coping skills, and the importance of having a healthy support system and people you can trust, and how to take care of yourself and make good decisions. Kids leave our program with a plan that goes back to their school, and it identifies, in their own words, what they want to work on and who might be able to help them with that. We go see them in a month to make sure that their plan is working and to make any adjustments. And we continue to advocate to make sure that the people who are responsible for implementing the plan are doing so. So let's talk a little bit about how we create connection and safety. We created a space where young people feel welcome and comfortable. Imagine you're a teenager who gets suspended from school and sent to this unknown place. You might be feeling a little bit scared and nervous. When you walk in, you see a couch and carpets. It feels warm and inviting. You hear the soothing sound of a fountain. There's calm music playing and the lighting is low. We welcome you and introduce ourselves by our first name. We shake your hand, smile, look in your eye, and we tell you we're not going to be starting for about 15 minutes or so, so we invite you to take a seat and chill on the couch while we wait for the others to arrive. We do this to give you time to get used to us in the space, and also to calm your central nervous system, because we recognize that it's probably pretty fired up right about now. Once we're ready to begin, we invite you to take a seat in the circle, and we start with introductions, because we want to create belonging in the group that you're going to spend the next 3 days with. We tell you that Project Resiliency isn't a punishment, it's an opportunity. And we're not going to lecture you about drugs. We're just going to give you lots of stuff to think about. And we're going to let you make your own decisions, because we recognize that it's your life, and we can't tell you what to do with it. We tell you that we won't judge, but we might challenge some of your thinking, but that we'll always do it respectfully. We tell you that grammar and spelling don't count, because what we care about are your thoughts and your feelings, not about how you write it down. And we talk about confidentiality. And we ask that everyone agrees that what's said in the room stays in the room. That way people feel safe to talk about stuff they might not normally get a chance to. So you might be wondering, how does one do empathy? Well, we use a lot of empathy for you and for others. We say things like, I wonder what might be going on in that person's life to make them act like that. Or, how do you think that might make someone feel? We encourage the sharing of personal stories so that you understand that we all feel the same way no matter what we look like or what group we belong to. And we help you really feel that we understand how you feel by listening to your story and saying, we're sorry that happened to you. That sucks. And we use self-disclosure about our own day-to-day adversities, and sometimes, depending on the group, more personal stuff, so that you get that we really get it. And we don't judge, we only show concern for you, your loved ones, and for your future. When students have been with us for a little while, I always ask them, so is Project Resiliency what you guys expected? And they always laugh and say no. They say, we thought you were going to be really mean and that you were going to lecture us and tell us that we're bad and drugs are bad. And they describe our program with words like cool, fun, helpful, and chill. A lot of kids say, I don't want to go back to school, or I really wish I could stay here. And one student said to us, well, if it was supposed to be a punishment, you guys are doing it wrong. But the most important thing they say is that you didn't lecture us. You let us decide things for ourselves. So here's the big difference in what we do versus what traditionally has been done. We give them what they need instead of what they expect. How do we know it works? This is a letter that we received from a young man. It was an email that we received from a young man a couple of weeks after he came through our program. And when he first arrived, he really didn't think he needed to be there. This is what he had to say in hindsight. I think I should explain how Project Resiliency had an impact on me. I got caught and fought so hard not to get sent out of school. To be honest, I thought that the program was going to be a bunch of irrelevant bullshit. But you guys welcomed me with caring hands and made me see a side of myself I really never knew I had. I'm still iffy about talking to people about issues, or adversities, if you will, but I understand that eventually I will have to, and I've been accepting compliments, and it feels good. My highlight of Proj, we have a nickname, was definitely you being there to listen. I don't usually trust most people after 3 days, but you both have my full trust. And another from the mother of a young man who came through our program just a couple weeks ago. My son shared with me that he was able to connect with both of you. There was no judgment. He could open up and enjoyed the program. He also mentioned that we could pursue more counseling. I'm desperately seeking this out. So, I'll ask you again. Discipline and punishment, or empathy and connection? I vote for empathy and connection. Because we all want young people to have a happy, healthy life, and to be able to pass that on to their peers, families, and future children. Because we all want to help create a better world, a radical shift for all of us. Here's my challenge to you. Let your light shine so brightly that others can see their way out of the dark. And please, go out there and do empathy. Thank you.